Be still and know I am God. Are we not told that in the 46th Psalm, the 10th verse? Be still and know that I am God. Man, you can't be. You can't be that arrogant. All right, well, if you're not going to be that arrogant, well, then remain where you are. Remain in the little state, perfectly all right, because the state doesn't care how long you occupy it. You can occupy it from the cradle to the grave, and it doesn't care. But while you're in a state, you're going to illuminate that state, and you're going to reap the fruit of that state. But knowing that there are states, select a more desirable state, and then you enter that state. But how do I enter the state? It's all a mood. Did not Churchill tell us that the mood determines the fortunes of people rather than the fortunes determine the mood? He knew what he's talking about. The fortunes are not determining the mood. The mood determines the fortunes of people rather than the mood determine the fortunes determine the mood. I will assume the feeling. I assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And then it was Anthony Eden who told us, an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Now, you can't deny the men, both were prime ministers of England. Churchill was the great prime minister during the war years, and Anthony Eden followed him after he was ousted. And when the Conservative Party came back into power, it was Anthony Eden who was the prime minister. And I've just quoted these two prime ministers. And a third prime minister, which is the great Benjamin Disraeli. He said, man is not the victim of circumstances. Circumstances are created by man. So it's entirely up to me. If I know the states, infinite states, so I enter this state or that state or the other. And I simply enter a state by a mood. That's all I need do. What would the feeling be like if it were true? Well, then I contemplate the thing, and then what would it be like if it were true? And if I dare to assume that it is true, that's my way to success. The feeling of the wish fulfilled, sustained, is man's road to success. So tonight, dream nobly, and don't limit it by your present state, for that's only a state. You, the occupant of the present state, are equal with every being in this world, for there's only God. And the occupant of that state is God. So one who has $1 billion today, he is in a state of fabulous wealth. But he, the occupant, is the same being that you are. It's God. There's nothing but God. And the one who is enjoying great health and the one who is now not enjoying health, they're still the same being. And so, what would it be like if, and then you ask a simple question and catch the mood. So as you catch the mood, then the fortune follows. We're always believing ahead of our evidence. Don't wait for evidence. You precede the evidence by your belief, and the belief is caught by a mood. What would it be like if it were true? So imagination plus faith are the realities out of which we fashion our world. And without faith, it is impossible to please him. That's what we are told in the 6th verse of the 11th chapter of Hebrews. All these marvelous things are taught us in Scripture, but man doesn't see it correctly. He sees it as secular history, and it isn't secular history. The whole thing is salvation history. The whole thing is all about God. And God became man, that man may become God. So he's actually seated here in everyone who is seated here. And you say, I am, that's God. There is no other God. When you hear the word God tomorrow, or you hear the word Jesus, or you hear the word Lord, don't fail in your test and let the mind jump on the outside to something other than yourself. For the God spoken of in Scripture is your own wonderful human imagination. That's God. There isn't a thing in this world that you see now as a fact that was not first imagined. You name it. Name one. It was all first imagined. Now you may say, well, the tree. I didn't bring that in. Yes, divine imagining. In the depths of your own being you did. On the surface you can see all the things that you do. that the clothes you wear, they had first to be imagined. The very building in which we are now housed, it had to be imagined. All these preceded the evidence that came into the world. But if you go beyond that and say, well, after all, the stones were not, and the trees were not, yes, they were. They were all imagined in the depths of your own being, but now you came to the surface in these garments, and you can see the evidence of what man imagines in the world. He had first to imagine going to the moon before he could conceive the means to get to the moon. And you and I have to imagine everything in this world before it can become a fact in this world. For there isn't a thing that you and I will call a fact that was not first imagined. So objective reality is solely produced through imagining. And you can start now to imagine a more noble world for your own self and for your immediate circle. You don't have to go into the whole vast world. Your immediate circle. A more noble, more lovely thing that you want to experience in this world. And if you imagine it and believe that what you have imagined is fact, it will become a fact. For I tell you, imagining creates reality. Because God, imagining, is creating. And man, imagining, is God. And so he is creating. Now look at the world and see what we have done with it. Because we did not know what we were doing. The morning's paper will show you the most horrible things in the world. And that's all man's imagination. It need not be. But we are fed it morning, noon, and night because man has not controlled his own wonderful human imagination. When he does, he will have, well, heaven on earth.